Previously on Redbeard's Garage. So we was taking out the governor on this, and I was like, all right, I'm going to have to pull the head off to do the 65-pound double valve springs. Well, actually, if I was just removing the governor, I was going to put 50-pound springs from Go Power Sports. But we've had this pile of stuff sitting around for a really long time. And I was going to do a full how-to video on the channel of how to build a 301, but I feel like it's kind of repetitive with the 420. It's going to be really close to the same. So today, we're going to put a new head gasket. We're going to put 275 lift cam in it. Put a cam in her. Then we're going to also put a beautiful ARC billet rod for longevity and strength. I'm going to put an Auto Light Racing NASCAR's plug in it. NASCAR.
If that doesn't tell you nothing.
We should have only showed you the plug and you'd have got the gist. NASCAR plug. It's going to be fast.
She's a beaut.
She is a beaut. The billet flywheel. So, this mini bike is going to be dumber than a son of a gun fast. Because I rode it today, and I forgot how mean this 301 was on that mini bike. It's all you need, really. Governor removed on this thing just because I hate that governor pulling back on the throttle. Governor removed is all you need on 301 on a mini bike, and it's stupid mean, isn't it? I mean, for that little frame.
I remembered how mean it was. That's why I wondered why it sat over there for so long.
Yeah, I don't know why. It's just we get so caught up on projects. We go on to the next project, stuff sets. So I had to break the boot off the spark plug. Oh, come on, baby.
To make it fit.
To make it fit on the frame, which is no big deal. So now we need to pull off the carb, pull off the valve cover, pull the push rods out. Then we can pull the head off, put the new valve springs on, put the rod in. Put the flywheel on. So it's gonna be a little bit of a process. Oh yeah, cam. Slap a cam in her. There's that Hemi head. Now you can get a 301 as a non-Hemi, and we lucked out and bought a Hemi, and I wasn't even going for a Hemi, so that was awesome. A little retainer nut in the center. This is like the most willy-nilly build I think I've ever done. So now we're sliding out these pins. Hold the rockers and the push rods. I'm just piling everything in the valve cover. I don't even care anymore. Because I fear something's going to go flying. There we go. There we go. And there we go. You know what the bad thing about Depot 10 is? It's in the bed of my truck. Let's go look at your rims.
Let's do that.
Lonnie's got new rims for his truck. And he got a new truck.
I was about to say, they probably don't even know about that.
Here's Lonnie's new truck. A 1995 Club Classic long bed Coupe de Ville ladder rack supporting F-150 with wrench dings.
I know the owner. Got a good deal.
Yeah, I put them in it. $6 grand. So, here's Lonnie's. Oh my goodness. Moto metals on 35s. Tires are, they got a tiny bit of life left in them in the summertime, so who cares? There's Lonnie's wheels. You like them?
Yes.
So Lonnie bought these from a guy at my old job. I used to work at a Ford dealership. He bought them for $400, which was a bargain. The wheels alone are like 200, 250 a piece.
Yeah, which they're half worn, but still.
I was talking about the wheels alone. Yeah, tires are worn out, and there's Lonnie's new truck. Got a Goose It sticker on it and everything.
First thing that happened.
Yeah, as soon as he pulled up, I was
the
like,
driveway.
what sticker you want? This can stay the same up here. We'll just have to, that's like the line we'll cut. You see that on camera?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we'll have to cut if he decides to use those 35s. If not, he can go with a 34 or 33s if he wants. What was we doing out here? Oh yeah, getting my.
Those are 32, so it needs to be at least a 34.
Yeah, I would.
Probably 35 though.
Yeah, and it's an 18-inch rim, but with 20s, you get a lot less comfortability in the ride.
You know what's good about those half-worn tires? They
What?
won't roar.
No, those are no roar tires.
They don't make that size tire in just street tread.
Get ready. Slicks. What do you want? 35, 12, 50 Hoosiers. Hoosier Street Kings. That neighbor, I just don't want to bug her. We found out the neighbor, the one that don't like me, is in a, what was it?
Support group.
A support group. I think for like a illness or something. Probably like hearing damage.
For annoying neighbors.
But we found out she talks about us all the time in her group. Bless her heart.
No secrets in this small town.
Sorry again! So Lonnie's going to give you a full walkthrough on how to pull off a carb off 301.
It's really complicated, so pay attention. You got a 10 millimeter nut right here. You want to go ahead and take that bad boy off. That was perfect, actually. That's what I meant to do.
It auto falls.
Now, here's the tricky part. There's another one on the other side. You might not see it at first, but it's there. You need to take that bad boy off also.
What's next?
Then you can take. Well, yeah. Usually, there's a little throttle connect rod right here. You take that off, and then, bam, she's off.
That's carb.
That's carb.
That's carb. That's carb.
Complicated process.
Oh my gosh! Alright, so we're going to try to get these head bolts off. Ooh, old impact works. I did not think.
You can buy that on the Amazon store too.
You can buy basically anybody.
Good gosh, man.
Bam.
What's a heat shield do?
Shields heat.
You serious?
I'm serious. It's something. Oh yeah, I forget. You also got to take this 8. Oh my God. I stripped it out. I didn't know she was on furred. Okay, now you can pull the head off. We all make mistakes.
Some people just make more than.
Oh my gosh.
Why are we leaving this oil bucket here?
That's the worst place possible for it.
Oh yeah, both on top.
At least it was you and not me.
Yeah. Alright, there we go. Good gosh, that thing was running rich. That's the way we like them. Run rich or go home. Hey, gaskets. Oh gosh, I can't lose those. This is the worst engine build ever.
That was perfect timing too. Worst engine build ever.
Okay, we're good. The head's on the table. Bam.
One more piece of the junkyard.
Now we can remove the cam. There's that old stock cam. Now you can pull the cam tappets. That's the proper name for them. I've learned on YouTube, no matter if you use the proper name, someone's going to tell you what it's called. These are cam tappets. That's the correct proper name for them. Now we'll see if the old impact will break. Okay, let's wait. See if the old Porter cable will break loose the flywheel nut. I bet it won't. Good gosh. Nothing was torqued on this thing. Now, you don't want to lay this just anywhere so it'll get messed up, because this is what cools your engine. You can use a pulley puller.
Which is what's recommended.
Well, I have one.
Yours is garbage though.
How dare you? It worked perfect on 670.
Did it?
Yeah. I also got a 670 tour part over there. Got a lot of engines going on right now.
And 0 workbench space.
Yeah, no workbench space. All right, Lonnie, you're gonna take this hammer
And just beat the far out.
just slam into the block anywhere. The more airflow, the better. What's funny is I have the correct tool to do this. I have the perfect design tool.
The one designed specifically for this.
You're gonna hit that nut. I mean, you don't gotta Thor smash it.
Got it.
That's just so quick and easy.
I'm confused. Are you taking it off or putting it on?
Taking it off. He was hitting it to cause to break loose that tight grab it has. We also need to pull off the coil.
Hit that.
No! Coil pack is removed. Alright. I hate when you get a 90 mustache hair. It just goes, yeah. Alright. Now we're on to taking the rod out. Come on, baby. There we go. Alright, here comes the piston. Bam. There's that old piston. Gonna take the wrist pin clip out. Bam. Now we can slide the wrist pin out. Lay it in the metal shards. The arrow on the piston points down. The rod ear points down as well. So we'll match that on our new rod. It's in that box. Oh yeah. Drop it. No! We actually need to break the bolts loose. I'm not going to check oil clearance or nothing on the bearings. We're going with this thing. Alright, so we're going to protect our rod with a old welding glove. We're not going to hammer down or nothing on this. We're just keeping it where we can break these 8mm 12-point rod bolts. Break them loose because they pre-torque them from ARC. A lot of times the rods will have little dots indicating you have to put this cap on one way. It only goes one way, or you'll mess some stuff up. But normally you would check for oil clearance on your bearings. Guess what? We are not doing this normal. So when the rod's in the block, you want it sitting just like that. You want this oil dipstick, this oil rod to grab the oil and sling it. You know, it's a splash lubricant system, so it does not have an oil pump. So now we can take our piston, making sure our arrow is pointing down. We can lay this rod in there, slide our wrist pin back in. Then we can put our wrist pin clip. So much metal shards. So I always get one side started, and then it'll snap right there in place, the metal shards and all. I'm going to clean everything with brake cleaner. Also make sure I pre-lube everything as I'm like sliding the pistons in. I need to make sure they're lubed because brake cleaner cleans so well it'll actually seize up your engine. So I'm gonna go wash all these metal shards off my hands and get cleaned up real quick to put the engine back together. So now we're snapping these rod bearings in. Alright, you can see how we're doing it there. Get the notch lined up with the notch there. We're going to do the cap the same way. There we go. Now I need to clean out all the shavings out of the inside of the block. we're going to, oh my gosh.
I thought you were just like gonna gush it in there.
This is more than we wanted, but we do want her to lube really well. Just lubing the crank journal where the piston rod's going to go on. We're going to take our piston with the arrow pointing down. We're going to want to gap the ring gaps apart so they're not all lined up. You just want to gap those gaps staggered so they don't line up with each other. I always let my ears of my piston hang out. I'm going to slide those ears in the block. If it don't fit, force it. Take the handle of a hammer. So we had a little mishap on the last scene that you saw. I didn't get the ring squeezer seated all the way against the block when I knocked the piston down in it. So what had happened was the oil scraper kicked out of the squeezer and got squished between the head or the block and the squeezer. So what that did was it bent my oil scraper ring, both of them actually. That was a huge problem, and I knew right when it happened it was a big deal because no one makes rings for a 301. We looked for 3 hours that night. I was very angry that night at myself because I was building this in a hurry, and when I build engines I normally have a super clean workspace. I take my time, I put music on, I just build it. Well, this time I was rushing it just for the sake of throwing a video out like this because we normally don't build motors like this. So this was a huge problem. 3 hours looking, couldn't find nothing, so I finally went to Facebook before. I was like, I'll try to go to Facebook before I go buy a 301 just to take the rings out of. That would have been horrible if I had to do that. And EC Distributing contacted me and said they sold rings for the 301, which is insane because no one sells these. These are impossible to get other than from EC Distributing. So huge shout out to them for sending these rings out. They sent them, they came in one day, and that is amazing. They actually ended up being in Tennessee. But thank you guys so much because you saved me from having to go buy a 301 just to pull the rings out. That would have been so horrible. You can't find a piston or anything for this engine. So big shout out to EC Distributing. That's awesome. Saved me a lot of money. So now we can get back to throwing this thing together. So I have one of the oil scrapers pulled off. That's trash. The other one is right here. It bent as well. It kicked both of them out. Come on, baby. I'm trying to get it off. So this one bent as well. It's really hard to show you, but it bent right there. And there's no way I was going to try to run this. So that being said, now we can slap the new rings on it and hopefully not have any problems. I'm going to go ahead and throw all the new rings on it. There's no point in not when you got a brand new set and just trying to find the gap in this other oil ring. Come on, baby. So there's the other piece of the oil scraper. So there's two oil scrapers and then a little dilly-dally goes in the middle.
Is that the technical term for it?
Yes, it is. So first we're going to put on the oil ring expander. We can just separate that one and kick it. It has little teeth on the back of the oil ring expander, and those grab the rings and keep them in place. Alright, there we go. Got the one on. And this one will go on top of the oil ring expander. There we go. So you also want to set your gaps of your oil ring expander or your oil rings apart. You know, I don't know, I do it like 20 degrees. Who cares?
I'm sure somebody does.
Someone will care. I guarantee it. So next is a second compression ring. It has there's no way I'm going to be able to show you on camera, but it has a very tiny notch on one side of it, and that notch goes down. So if there's ever any riding, let me put this down. If there's ever any riding, can you see that?
No. Oh,
there's some numbers right there, or letters. So anytime your rings have a number, letter, a dot, an arrow, that always goes up. So this is the second compression ring. It's black. The silver, the one that's silver around the edge is the first compression. That's the top. This is the middle. So we're going to put the letters up. There we go. There we go. And you're supposed to put the gaps between the ring scraper, the second and first compression at 120 degrees apart. So 2 openings there and 1 opening there. I'm going to try a little trick Granite Carp Fab was telling me, where you put the gaps on opposite sides of the first and second compression, and that should give you a little bit higher compression. We'll see. We won't even know if we have it. So now I got to scrape off the leftover head gasket residue and get this all cleaned up. Now we need to make sure our ring gaps stay separated. Make sure your compressor's all flat. There we go. See, I don't want that gap. Other ring compressors like that, always push it, make sure it's perfectly flat. Alright. Arrow on the piston goes down. Put the rod in. Make sure I don't scratch up. The walls in my block. And we're going to get that seated all the way down on the head with no gap this time, so we don't bend a oil scraper again. Take the handle of the hammer. And that's what we want to see. Alright, so our oil dipper goes down, points down. It's going to be really hard to show. Okay, once you get that rod cap on, I'm going to put a little bit of oil in the lid. You always want to torque your rod bolts with them wet. We're going to finger tighten them, and then we'll see what the torque specs are. So we're going to do 26 foot-pounds, and they recommend you start off at 16 foot-pounds and then on both, and then go 4 foot-pounds a piece until you get to 26 pounds, alternating. There's one. Okay, go at 4 more. And then they want you to loosen it back down, and then retighten them one more time, doing the same method. I think it just seats the bearing and just gets everything. I don't know, call them and ask them why. And I can loosen it with my torque wrench, but I really don't like to do that. I only tighten stuff with my torque wrench. I don't know, so I'm sure it may not even hurt it, but to keep it in calibration, I feel like, you know, I'm only going to use this for torquing down stuff. I loosen one bolt so much, loosen the other one, basically till it turns pretty easy. There we go. Start back again at 16, work our way back up 26 with the 4 foot-pounds at a time. And ARC's some pretty smart guys, so there's a reason for everything that little booklet says. They know more than we do, so let's listen to them. How about it? Put my cam tappets in. Dipping my cam tappets in some oil, and that'll hold them in. Now we got our new 275 lift Dyno Max cam. Then we have a dot on the cam as well. We need to match those dots, so right there, see our dots are lined up perfecto. And we are using the original gasket. Some people does not like the fact that I do that, but I know for a fact it will not hurt it. It won't leak any oil. You'll be perfectly fine. Okay, so torque down the side cover at 17 foot-pounds. First time I've ever used a torque wrench on a side cover. We can now spin the engine around. We don't have any clearance issues with the cam hitting. You always want to do that before putting the head on, because that's when you'll get in some trouble. I've did that before. I put everything back together and then gave it a good spin around. When I built the 420, you had to do some block clearances, and that was no fun for sure. We need to get this stuff. This is like liquid sandpaper, and what this is going to do, this is just going to make the bond between the flywheel and the crankshaft crazy tight. There's like water sitting on top of it, but it's basically liquid sandpaper. Let me mix it up.
It looks sparkly.
It is sparkly. You can see it. I mean, that's basically really all it is liquid sandpaper. And what this has done is eaten any burrs that's left over on this billet flywheel, which there's rarely any, but it's just making the perfect bond between this flywheel and that crankshaft. It's mating the two surfaces and sanding them down together, making the perfect bond. We pull that off. We can fully clean both of these. Make sure you get every bit of this valve grinding compound off, every single bit of it. So I always use brake cleaner and a couple of blue paper towels.
Will that be in the description too?
Nope. What?
Brake cleaner.
Oh, I use brake cleaner for everything. I brush my teeth with this stuff.
It's your go-to tool.
I clean this several times just to make sure every bit of it gets out of the keyway. So we have a brand new stock key because we did booger up ours. We can slide our flywheel on. Put our starter cup on there and our flywheel nut. Goodness, that was on there. You would think they didn't want it to come off. So there is the inside of a 40 series. And nothing's wrong with this. Still nothing whatsoever. But this will be a very handy tool that will serve me forever. There's the springs and the weights. There we go. So now we can drill some holes in this, and basically what this will allow us to do is slide this onto our crankshaft to be able to bolt it to these holes back there, right there and right there, and we'll just do two, and that'll hold the crankshaft from being able to turn so we can torque down our nut on our flywheel. As like I said, that's that 40 series plate, and I just drilled two holes. You can see where I first made some test drill holes, but that'll make that crank knot turn. That is going to be a handy little tool to keep. I can throw those bolts in a bag with it, and that'll be awesome. So, no compression. What's wrong? No head. Piston fall up. Wow. What the? So now we can start prepping our head for the new valve springs. Filthy. So we got lash caps Set those aside. We also have these keepers, which are a son of a gun getting out. They're just a pain. So that's why your boy went and bought himself a 4-wheeler valve spring compressor. This thing is super handy on Amazon. It's super cheap, especially for all the headache you're going to put yourself through trying to get these things off with your hands. And it'll try to walk a little bit with you side to side, but you can guide it back down on there. You can see now our keepers are just laying willy-nilly in there. There's one keeper. And there's the other. So now, when we take this out, our spring will fully just come off there. You have to pull your head to be able to use this. Oh, that's I was like, I know that wasn't a valve. We have our old spring. You can see that I can collapse that spring down. It's like twice as much compression on it. What I've found as well can be a little bit tricky getting those keepers down in there. Okay, we stopped recording for a second because this is one tedious little job, but we got those keepers put back in there. I used 2 flathead screwdrivers. Once you get one will go down in there perfect. The other one's the pain. So now if we just loosen up, and I got this valve spring compressor in my vise, so it's a lot easier to deal with. Now we have our springs loaded up in there. They should be all good to go. So now we can do our opposite side. This is, I'm telling you, putting it in this vise is going to make it 100 times. Let's turn it this way. 100 times easier. There, I have a magnetic screwdriver to pull those keepers out. There's one. There's 2. Wait. See those keepers? The most handiest tool I've ever bought. There's other ones too, but
I was about to say, along with the chop saw and the whatever that other thing is.
a bandsaw was, you know, the second runner-up. Chop saw no one cares about. Not anymore anyways. We've moved on. So now we got our spring. We got our new spring on. Oh gosh. There's 2. The second one, like I said, always is the pain. I get a flat head on each side. When we let go, those keepers will fall back in the notch on the valve. We have upgraded valve springs on a 301 Hemi head. You can tell it's a Hemi because of the hemispheric shape of the head right there. And of course we do not forget to put on our lash caps. Lash cap on each valve. So now we get that seated down on there. Okay, we're starting off at 15 with our head bolts, and then going to go up to 26. That's what it says a Honda's is. So we're gonna go up by 4. Oh gosh. Here's 26 foot-pounds. Alright. Head is torqued down. Push rods are next. There we go. Alright, so I got one valve adjusted already at 3 thousandths. So let's tighten this bad boy down. Now we should be good on it. We are. Alright, so on this motor I'm going to use the blue cup washers because we've never used blue ones. And it'd probably be the perfect thing to do on that mini bike, blue and black and silver. Redbeard's Garage is powered by GoPowersports.com. GoPowersports has a huge amount of awesome go-kart and mini bike parts, and when making your purchase, use the Redbeard discount code in the upper right-hand corner of your shopping cart to grab yourself a sweet deal. Hit that subscribe button and make sure the notification bell is on so you'll never miss another episode, and go check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and Pinterest to stay up to date with the channel. Guys, always come back to Redbeard's Garage. I'm out.